Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today. It's going to be two bots that I haven't cast in a while. In the bottom right, it's Ketroc, not the player, but it plays like the player. It's Ketroc's bot. And taking on Ketroc's bot, it's gonna be a bot that I have no idea what it'll do. It's QueenBot. QueenBot is a bot I've cast in the past. Definitely an interesting concept, so we're gonna see how well it's gonna do against Ketroc bot here today. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this video, make sure to go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not, and then leave a comment down below that says more bots, more boats. I like big boats, and I cannot lie. And so I like big bots. And so we have got ourselves a Rax on the way here for Ketroc bot, saying it will go for a Banshee Cyclone opening, one base. Whereas QueenBot presumably just going to try and get up a decent number of hatcheries so it can pump out those queens. We'll see whether or how advanced this bot is going to be, because I've cast it in the past. Just double checking my sound there. I've cast it in the past, and it's definitely done well, but of course there's mistakes that can happen with it in regards to the logic it uses. So we'll see if it's able to get up a good number of queens. Ketroc bot is a bot that does make lots of air units, so queens are, of course, going to be good against that. But then it depends, how does it position the queens for defense? Does it spread creep? Yada, 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 all that. We do have Ketroc's bot being all... Oh, it did just say Banshee Cyclone, not one base Banshee Cyclone, pardon me. So Ketroc's bot going for an expansion, getting up that bunker, probably a planetary fortress at the natural, which is kind of the signature for Ketroc's bot, and a lot of those defensive Terran bots. So QueenBot producing queens, unsurprisingly, no lings whatsoever, probably just going to be making queens. We'll see how many drones it's going to get up to, as it's going to need really just minerals, not a lot of gas. And yeah, okay. We are on the map Site Delta, the AI edition. Ketroc's bot is actually going for an orbital at the natural, so that's interesting. Maybe it's changed up its strategy a little bit. We've got a Widow Mine being produced as well. All the while, QueenBot just doing its thing, making 3 queens at a time so far. 27 drones, and that is one of the things about a QueenBot. Queens are a macro tool, so there can be a lot of injects, potentially a lot of creep spread here, and we are starting to see that creep spread kick off. Interestingly enough, the creep not spreading as soon as it could. Like, this tumor's just hanging out. It could be spread, but it's not. Don't ask me why. There we go. That's weird. The cycling, I guess, of QueenBot. It takes a bit of time before it does that. So I wonder why that is, because you think with a bot, it's like as soon as that creep tumor is done, it could instantly spread it. Now we have got QueenBot currently up to 5 queens, starting to spread that creep out. Eventually, I imagine that'll get as close as it can to Ketroc bot's door. There's a 3rd command center on the way for Ketroc. Lots of drones being produced for QueenBot. It is starting to mine some gas. I can only imagine that this is going to be for upgrades of some variety, potentially a lair. And yeah, 4 hatcheries up for QueenBot, soon to be a 5th from the looks of it. And this game is a slow build, but there is 6 queens already, and it's like an exponential amount of queens as QueenBot hits 50 drones, all mining minerals pretty much, so all going to be just making more and more queens, more and more hatcheries on the way, creep getting spread all over the place. Ketroc's bot looks like it's moving out potentially to secure that 3rd base position as it's floating that over. It's already got 1 tank out. More tanks are on the way. If there's one thing that's good against queens, I think it's tanks, particularly off of creep. Ketroc's bot is starting to make those starports, so potentially going to see some air units against these mass queens, which I'm honestly excited to see. If these queens with their 7 7 AA range are able to just murder whatever Ketroc makes out of its starports. Engineering bay is on the way, so probably a planetary going to be at this natural base. It's also going to depend how fast QueenBot expands. How many bases is it going to take? It's getting up this extra hatchery. We'll see if it's going to go for another one there. It's got a lair on the way. Evolution chambers are on the way. If you're only making one unit, you generally want them to be as good as possible, so it will have those upgrades researching to bolster those queens. Currently 4 queens being made, up to 14. That is a lot of sisters, that's for sure. Now, another hatchery going on the way up. It looks like QueenBot is programmed that once one hatchery finishes, it starts another, instead of just taking as many hatcheries as it can. Although, no, it actually does go for another one. That's actually really good to see. Just getting hatcheries all over the place. One in the middle of the map, because why not? We're up to... I mean, there's only 5 bases, soon to be 8, so 8 queens at a time. Not a small number. Ketroc saying tag mining fix at the 6-minute mark. With, I wonder what the reason for that is. But presumably a solution to some problem. Now, Overlord goes down. Hatcheries trying to be expanded to are getting shut down. Ketroc saying creep clearing squad added. Let's say that 3 times fast. Casting on hard mode here as a Banshee and a Raven are now moving on out. They seem to be the squad, but will Queens be able to intercept them at all? They're here to clear creep. Instead, they are going to find a hatchery, although it is doing a good job targeting down that creep. Another hatchery is going to get started on up. There's the queens. We even have a queen in an overlord. So just extra creep spreading, potentially. Some micro options there. QueenBot's starting to move on out onto the map. Looking to chase those units away. Got a shot or 2 off on the Raven, but ultimately not too much getting done there. And, okay, there is a queen getting shot by the Banshee. 2 queens, actually. Potentially the first queen, presumably a many, gonna die this game. And that does perish. The gaggle of queens now moving across the map. Gonna try and save this hatchery, potentially. There's a lot of transfuse potential here. Yeah, okay, the bots... are we in the version of the game that they have to be on creep to transfuse? Yes, they do. So, we have got these queens now getting shot at. Transfuses are going down from the queens that are off creep, but oh man, this is a lot of tanks the queens are trying to attack on into. Creep isn't quite spread forward enough. They're eating a lot of the shots. The first tank is now in range of all of these queens. The Cyclone's locking on doing whatever they can. Some of them are perishing, but suddenly queens from the north, tanks being worked on by these queens. They're eating a lot of shots, but no, they're retreating. Never retreat. Just go full send into the tanks. It's your duty. As these queens, they are going to get one of those tanks, potentially going to kill another. There we have it. 3 dead tanks. Creep can now be spread even further as these queens can heal each other up. There's 31 on the map right now. We have a Nidus tag going down. I do not know where that is, but it's somewhere. I think it may have been dealt with, potentially. Anyway, QueenBot making 12 queens at a time. Currently got +2 attack on the way. No 2nd level of armor. I suppose it's just waiting on the gas to do that as it makes 13 queens at a time. Banshee's still trying to clear up creep. Ketroc's bot, however, is expanding all over the place, getting up lots of its own bases, and these queens, I mean, they can trade out okay, but I feel like it's going to get worse and worse, so QueenBot really needs to not let Ketroc bot take too many bases. We have a little bit of Hellion harassment going on as well. The queens are now marching forward. Hurrah, hurrah. It's a planetary fortress with 1 tank near it, but the queen's going to turn around and run away from that tank. I feel like they definitely could attack on in here. There's not a lot of defensive units for Ketroc bot, so QueenBot, I think, needs to just go for it, to be honest. Spread creep as far forward as possible, and it is doing an okay job of that, but it's not really planting too many more creep tumors on the front. Okay, we have queens getting locked on by Cyclones, trying to retreat away from that. Good to see there's that behavior, actually, from QueenBot. So got some micro there. trying to move out off of this creep. QueenBot is maxed out. It's got the +2 Carapace on the way now. It's got the +2 attack. It's heading towards this base of Ketroc bot. Lots of Cyclone lock-ons are going down, though, this tank. As soon as the Queens seem to get in range of the tanks, they actually just retreat. That is not good. What's the point of engaging if you're not going to actually, you know, commit? Cyclone's locking on to Queens, killing them off. Transfuse is going to save some of them, but the Cyclones are getting good trades. Ketroc's bot got a planetary to the top right, secured a lot of bases, so QueenBot's going to have to start taking some better trades if it wants to win this game, but just honestly, the control is something that I think could be better for QueenBot. It's now going to try and break this planetary. We'll see if it targets down the SCVs or not, or if it's going to let this base be repaired. The creep definitely could be a little bit better. Like, the Queen, I don't know if this is a viable suggestion for the development of QueenBot or not, but potentially to make it so that right before Queen steps off of creep, make it drop a tumor, just so that creep is kind of spreading in the way that the Queens are always heading. And we do see them trying to damage down this planetary, but that is mighty slow. They do not have the DPS, even with +2 attack. These are building armor planetary fortresses. Ketroc's bot has got the money to repair this, and oh gosh, what a mess this game is. How many Queens have died this game? 42. If they'd only target down this SCV, who's almost single-handedly keeping this planetary alive. We see a tank getting attacked by these Queens. Looks like it will go down. They're very committed out here, though, off a creep. And, oh man, they're killing off some SCVs. They're trying to get on top of these other tanks, and this Queen is quite literally on top of these tanks, so she's doing a good job there. Trades going on constantly. QueenBot, however, is falling down in supply. Ketroc's bot has maxed out, and I think we're seeing why QueenBot is largely just a concept and not necessarily a winning strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, QueenBot trying for the Nidus, so it definitely does have strategies to try and overcome the shortcomings of the Queen, like the movement, but I honestly think just the grouping. We saw a lot of times the Queens were attacking on in, they got like within an inch of the tank, and we're like, nope, time to go away. Not targeting down the SCVs. And it is such an interesting concept with bots to make a bot that does do something like this. But in the end, a well-rounded bot like Ketroc's bot is just like it doesn't work. Like, if you're a Grandmaster, you can make Mass Queens against a Diamond player, but that doesn't necessarily mean Mass Queens is good. I'm sure QueenBot beats some other bots with this Mass Queen strategy, but Ketroc's bot, very defensive and whatnot, is just a little bit too strong, it seems. As, yeah, more and more Queens going on down. It's not really able to stay maxed out. It didn't take all the bases of Ketroc's bot, so it hasn't been doing too well there. Running away from another tank. Looks like it will get this tank. So, I mean, it has killed 8 tanks, 10 Cyclones, 56 SCVs. But we see Ketroc's bot attacking towards the bottom left. There's lots of Banshees, and the Queens aren't really there to deal with them. And so, yeah, I think just unit movement for QueenBot would be something that could potentially improve it a little bit. But at the end of the day, yeah, you're playing with almost 2 arms tied behind your back, making just Queens. So, yeah, I think Ketroc's bot probably does have this one, as it's just taking more bases. The trades are incredibly efficient. Queens, if they could maybe get engagements against some of these Banshees, that would be good, but the Banshees, they're utilizing Cloak. They are able to retreat incredibly efficiently. Ketroc's bot isn't really losing them. There's no Overseer as well, as I believe Vikings keep shooting them down. Yeah, 14 Overseers have died this game, and QueenBot is making another to replace it, which is good, but it probably needs a couple at this point. Cyclones, of course, are incredibly good against Queens since they can't really micro to save themselves, so who knows? I'll have to cast QueenBot potentially against like a Protoss bot or something like that. So if you guys do want to see more of these QueenBot games, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe if you're not, and if you do want to support this bizarre StarCraft YouTube content, consider becoming a member. And there's an Afrika World happening Saturday night. That, for those of you that don't know, that's Falcon Paladin and I casting some live pro Korean StarCraft 2. So the bot will be up on YouTube, but you can also check that out live by joining the Discord to get a ping when we do go when we do go live. Another Nidus is being attempted, but we've seen Ketroc's bot has great defensive behavior there with its 23 Banshees, which are doing pretty darn well against these queens. And yeah, the queens, they're just moving all over the place. They haven't really positioned themselves too well. Maybe QueenBot needs to just be more aggressive. Like if it just attacked very early on with the queens, or potentially grouped them up a little bit better. Like it seems to be moving them all just to the threat instead of, say, grouping them up, trying to defend multiple positions, that kind of thing. Looks like this base is potentially going to be canceled here. The queens, yeah, they're really just moving a lot of the time. Like they are very mobile for queens, but their destinations aren't really that good. Ketroc flexing on how much money it has, as QueenBot, yeah, not defending its base here, losing more and more. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that is pretty much going to be it. Take a guess how many queens have died this game, or by the end of this game. Queen's trying to catch the Banshees, but the cloak is too good, so definitely need some more Overseers potentially. And shout out to the author who did decide to write a bot like this. It seems very effective as far as mass queens can go, that's for sure. And it's one of those things, it's like, how far do you take a concept like this? Like, how much can you improve a bot that makes just queens before you say, I've done all I can, you know? And this bot author has really done a great job of it. And Ketroc's bot, of course, solid as always. I'm always a little bit scared to cast it because of how turtly it can be, but it's really not just completely turtly as it used to be. It's always attack and harassing, that kind of thing. And so yeah, ladies and gentlemen, hit that like button. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for tuning in.